Collingwood stink out the MCG.
Sydney steal one from the Cats.
And the Eagles clap Fremantle's cheeks back to reality.
This is the DrewFooty Show.
Hey, long road, took a tumble down this black hole. Stuck in Sunday League, but I'm on levels
Hello,
with
folks, and
Ronaldo.
welcome back to another episode of the DrewFooty Show. We've got a lot to talk about today, but first I'd just like to shout out to all the plonkers who have jumped on board recently. 4,000 subscribers, Jesse.
We messed up. We accidentally did a proper high five.
A couple weeks ago I set a goal of hitting 4K at the end of April, and... Yeah, set the goal to hit 4K at the end of April, and we did it. So now I'm going to set another goal. I want to be at 5K by the end of June, my birthday. Because last year we hit 2K on my birthday, so that'd just be a nice milestone, 5K on my birthday, and I'll do a giveaway. 55% of people who watch my channel are not subscribed, Jesse. That's criminal. That's filthy pigs.
Rats.
If I get 1,000 viewers this week, only, 450 of them are subscribed. Statistically, something like that, maths or something. So if you want to support the channel, please do drop a sub, that big red button next to my channel. The prison bars is a huge talking point at the moment, Jesse. Port Adelaide in the Sandful wore the black and white. They come into the AFL and Collingwood weren't having another black and white Magpies team. Fair enough. But I think it's important that they celebrate their heritage, and I don't think Collingwood should have a say what jumper they get to wear when they aren't playing against Collingwood. It doesn't even affect them. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I have to say I kind of agree. Collingwood are probably being a little bit unreasonable. Now, the contract does suggest Port Adelaide don't really have a leg to stand on, but it's not an unreasonable request to just want to play it in an unrelated game, celebrating their own sort of heritage. I know the Port Adelaide Magpies and the Port Power are separate entities, but nonetheless, all the fans are still connected to both of them, and they sort of see it as one sort of big emblem that they play under. So I don't think there's a real strong case for Collingwood being so against it.
I think it's much better than Collingwood's jersey, to be honest, as well. I quite like the prison bars. We're going to start doing the winners and losers of every round. So if you want to start sending in winners and losers, who you think, players, teams, it doesn't matter.
Just pictures of your mates that you think are losers.
Anyway, the winners of this round, Jesse, I've gone with the Richmond Tigers. They beat the up-and-coming Western Bulldogs, who come out firing in the first few quarters, and then much like a boa constrictor, the Tigers constricted the Bulldogs into Richmond's forward half. The Bulldogs didn't have a possession in their forward half for the first 20 minutes of that third quarter.
That's crazy.
It was a suffocation by the Richmond Tigers. New kids on the block, get smacked up, bitch. Stay where you are. The Premiers are back in town and they owned the G.
We've seen this from Richmond before. They get to a point where you think, oh, maybe they're dropping off. Yeah. And then, boom, they make an absolute statement and they're looking like, almost the team to beat just about.
Quickly on Adelaide and GWS. GWS now sort of back into form, winning 3 of their last 4, only losing to the Bulldogs. And Jesse Hogan debuts in kicks 4. Of course he does.
Did that hurt?
Sort of. Because I think he only did that once for us, and he just does it in his first game for GWS. But, GWS are in form. The whole time Freo had Hogan, he was our, pivotal forward. So much pressure on him. I think a lot of the pressure's off him at GWS, especially with, guys like Harry Himmelberg in form, and Finlayson and Toby Green as well, and young Tom Green as well. Had a good game. On the other side, Adelaide have lost their last 3 and look like they're just about to start stinking it up for the rest of the season, just about. Any hopes of top 8 sort of dwindling, you'd think?
A little bit. Yeah, we did live stream the game on the DrewFooty live stream, and we saw a massive difference in class and effort from the Giants. Adelaide didn't look poor with the ball in hand, but defensively there was just nothing there. GWS strolled into so many, easy goals, and Adelaide have sort of been put back in their box a little bit.
The next game, and one of the biggest talking points off this round, was Collingwood versus Gold Coast at the MCG. This is panic stations now for Collingwood. At home to Gold Coast, a team that everyone thinks they're going to beat. To be fair to Gold Coast, they played really well. Touk Miller had one of his best games in the AFL, and they're really starting to mature as a list. Although, I did hear a stat that their average games for that side was 60 compared to Collingwood's 110. But you wouldn't have picked that watching this game. Gold Coast looked like a much more mature side, and Collingwood's heads have dropped. So we've got a couple comments here on this game from JJ_ERTL7. He says, is this Bucks end at Collingwood after a loss to Gold Coast at the G?
Yeah, I was kind of defending the fact that Bucks probably wouldn't get the sack, but I don't think anyone really saw a significant loss to Gold Coast at the MCG in the fixture I don't think they've ever lost before coming. So I think this is a new low, and I think even the the most sort of conservative Collingwood fans or even board members who think, yeah, maybe we're rebuilding, sort of turning over the list. I can't see even that result being acceptable. And now they go into a bottom of the table clash next week, and they're being compared to North Melbourne. That shows how far they've fallen.
Who do they even go for though? Like, who do they turn to take the coaching role now? Because is it really Buckley's fault that the team's performing like this?
Well, I personally feel like the 22 they put out there each week is far better than what is being shown, and then you have to look at, well, whose fault is that? And ultimately it does come down to the coach, because that could be a motivation thing as much as anything.
Another comment here from Ashton_DG, and he asked, do you see the Pies finishing in the bottom 4 this season?
I do now.
Yeah.
After that loss at Gold Coast, I do see that, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't really think of anyone who's stinking it up more than Collingwood other than North Melbourne.
What often happens with teams when they have a bad start to the year is that then their focus changes, especially if there's a new coach and there's a little less pressure to win game.
Yeah.
You get more games into your Finley McRae's, your Oliver Henrys, guys like that. If there's a renewed focus and they're getting more games into kids, then you could see their win-loss ratio just dropping off completely, and that's where bottom 4 becomes very likely.
Buckley, your days are numbered. There were no comments on this game, St Kilda versus Hawthorn, but I just wanted to point out how fucking bipolar is St Kilda.
It's ridiculous.
1 week, they get absolutely pumped by Port and it's season over, what the fuck's going on here? And the next, they just clap Hawthorn's cheeks. They get clapped by Essendon and Melbourne, and then they beat West Coast, who have been looking really good as well.
And I think their fans will be the first ones to say that. It must be frustrating to know this team is capable of smashing a team like Hawthorn, but then playing far worse than Hawthorn in like 3 of the other games that they've played this year. So yeah, it must be really, really annoying.
Saturday night game I streamed, there was 2, and I picked Brisbane versus Port because I thought that would be a more compelling contest. Wrong, I was. But we watched, say the first half or 3 quarters, and we just realised that the Lions were going to run away with this. Prior to the game, me and Jesse both tipped Port in just the tips, and then later in the week we sort of had a think and realised that the Lions are probably going to come away with this one. And thank fuck we changed our tip, Jesse.
I changed my tip like 4 times this round and only scored 4 out of 9, but thankfully the Lions repaid the faith on that particular one. I think Boak was out for the power, even though Neil was out. Yeah, the Lions are pretty hard to beat at the Gabba when they're on form, and it looks like they're sort of returning to that form we know they're capable of.
We've got another question here. Do you think this is just another poor showing / blip in the radar for Port, or should there be some real concern within the club at their inability to win against good sides away from home? That's from Zachary.
The thing is about beating good teams away from home, it's the last box you need to tick to be a really good side, right? So it is literally the hardest thing to do, beat the best teams away from home. So, to be honest, often by itself, I think losing away to Brisbane, who are really hard to beat in Queensland, I don't think that's a big deal. Yes, they weren't that competitive against West Coast or the Lions now, so obviously they need to be a little bit introspective and think, are we going to show up when the game really matters? But overall, I still think Port are a contender, and it's something they can brush off somewhat.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be in the finals mix anyway, so I think as long as they get to there, they're sort of, that's a green tick. They're going to show up in every game in finals. They're not going to play like that in finals, I don't think.
No.
So it's a bit frustrating as a Port fan, but I think it's something they can definitely improve on.
We saw them last year beat Richmond at home and then go and lose to Geelong by 10 goals. And then in the finals, although it was at home, they showed up and beat Geelong. So I'm not too concerned for them.
So we flicked over to Sydney versus Geelong on a very rowdy live stream, which we had a lot of fun on. And this game was very rowdy as well towards the end. Geelong seemed to pull away early. But what I've noticed from watching Geelong this year is they have really good hot streaks. Like, they will kick, say, 5 or 6 in a row, and it's like, yeah, here's Geelong, this is what everyone's expected. But then they just have these real dark, deep, diabolical, terrible patches of form.
I thought you were going for another D there.
No, but literally, they have these big dips in form in games, and it's literally, terrible, terrible footy. It cost them the game. They couldn't hold on in the end.
Yeah, we do have a question from Haydos Owie. I think I'm saying that correctly. Was Jeremy Cameron robbed of his mark with 6 seconds left?
According to the umpires after the game, yes. They did come out and say it was. I thought it was 20. I was certain it was a mark when we watched it on the telly. Benefit of the doubt, surely. No one's going to go, that's not 15. That wasn't a kick that wasn't 15. No one would have thought that instantly. You know what I mean?
Definitely got it wrong, the umpire there, and unfortunately it cost Geelong. But on the flip side, we do know that in round 2 or 3, was it, against the Lions, Blitzarve got pinged holding the ball and they didn't pay it. So it kind of comes full circle sometimes.
It's karma, bitch.
On the Geelong side of it, though, they had their opportunities to win the game, and it's kind of on them that they didn't. They had 26 more inside 50s, which you don't see a team having 26 more inside 50s and losing very often. So, that kind of tells the tale. On the Swan side, though, good response to hang in there in a tough game where they were sort of getting dominated in a lot of the stats, and a good response after getting pumped by Gold Coast last week. So maybe they're not dropping off as hard as we thought.
Sunday morning, there were no comments on this game again. It was North Melbourne versus Melbourne. And North actually put up a good fight for 3 quarters. And then, Melbourne just run away with it. They're becoming renowned for being the fittest team in the comp, just running out games. They've got Big Burgess over there as their strength and conditioning coach. And it's been showing in their performances. They've been playing 4-quarter footy. From what I saw of this game, Cozzy Pickett is just honestly one of the best, got to be one of the best small forwards in the comp one day. Like, his crumbing work, he runs up and down the ground. He's unreal. I was losing my shit watching him. We've got a new segment potentially, the Buttsworth Comment of the Week, sponsored by Mitch Buttsworth, my biggest donating subscriber on the live streams. And his stat of the week is, D's have only beat the Sydney Swans once in the last 10, and they play this week. So could this potentially make the O disappear to a Juan?
It's a tough one where I think most people will be tipping Melbourne because that's all you can do. You can tip with your head or you can try and pluck an upset. And the Swans have plucked a big upset this year by beating Richmond at the G. So absolutely capable of it. But I'd probably be reluctant to tip the Swans.
Well, yeah, the Swans have upset Brisbane. They've upset Richmond. They've upset Geelong.
True. Those are 3 big teams in the comp. Yeah.
Come on, Melbourne. Come.
Come here. Si, senor.
You're a fucking freak, eh?
What does that even mean?
No solid comments on the Essendon versus Carlton game, but
No solid ones.
there was just some ones that didn't really make sense. I was reading and I was like, that's not in English.
We appreciate it, though.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. It's a much needed win for Carlton, really. Adam Sard returned against his old side and kicked a belting goal on his left peg from 50. Big game there, and Carlton got the cherries, and they're back in the win column.
Some are saying that was one of the games of the year. I missed a lot of it
Yeah.
due to the Derby happening at the same time, but virtually. But apparently really good high-scoring battle. Shame we missed it.
Would have been nice to watch that game, but unfortunately, I had to watch the Derby.
Unfortunately for you.
Thanks for watching, guys. Nah, come on. Nah, what'd you make of it then? Go on, get it over with.
Yeah, that is why I'm wearing the scarf obnoxiously, and you're probably wondering, where the hell was that scarf last week when you got belted by 100 points from Geelong? But it's out, baby. The lid is off. No, look, I am more satisfied with that win compared to any other win so far this season. Not just because it's Fremantle and they're more satisfying, although it was really satisfying because a lot of Dockers fans were very confident. Not so much you. I'm not really razzing you, but I know my friend Daniel Busher on DrewFooty tipped Fremantle by 7 goals, so I'm not going to let that opportunity slide. For me, the most pleasing part, to be honest, was that the first half, Fremantle played a really good brand of footy, really matched it with us. The stats were all even, and we were 13 points up. And we have injuries. I know you have injuries as well. But I was saying to you before we started recording, Fremantle have had injuries for like 3 or 4 years, so they're a known quantity. We know what they're going to bring. They bought a good contest. The Eagles are depleted to an extent where they're, an unknown quantity. We didn't know what kind of brand they were.
Uncharted territory.
Yeah, and to lose by 100 points and then to come out and play the game on our terms for most of it, really satisfying.
Yeah, no, God. I swear every derby's the same. I'll put this on my Twitter. Like, Freo will show up with a bit of intensity in the first couple quarters, then just absolutely fold and then just get fucking pounded. Like, it actually happens every year though, doesn't it? Like, Freo will just fold at some point and then there's no going back. In that second half, it just looked like every time you were going forward, you were going to score. Like, our defence was so disjointed without Luke Ryan. We started well and it was looking promising. Matt Taverner had probably the best half he's ever had for the Dockers. Kicked, I think, 4 goals won or 3 goals won, something like that. So, and then our midfield just started getting overrun as well, which I don't understand. We had Fife, Sarong, Brayshaw, Mundy in there like all day long, and we just couldn't get a clearance. After in the first half, it was pretty neck and neck there, and you just got on top of it. Like, come on.
One of the most surprising elements of the game is that the Eagles dominated the midfield battle after half-time. I think we smashed through in clearances. Tim Kelly had 42. And I did say before the game, I said the midfield's average and undermanned at the moment. But the 4 guys that we have leading it, or 5, they're all capable of a blinder. Thankfully, they all pretty much did.
Yeah.
That we've also said it in previous weeks. So conversely, it's also frustrating that they can't do that more often.
I mean, a loss to West Coast does suck. I did expect this result to be a loss, but just the way that it happened is what hurts. After that showing in the first half was really exciting, and then just to fold like that, it's just like, do we have any fucking integrity? That's what is pissing me off the most. As a loss, it's just a loss. We were expected to lose, so I'm not too mad about that. But yeah, just the manner of it was filthy, I thought.
I'll say one thing for Freo as an unemotional fan who's not obviously angry about the result. I think fatigue probably played a big factor in it. And you did get a couple of sore boys early. I think Chapman did his shoulder. Did he come back on? He did.
Yeah, he played out the game.
Yeah, Ethan Hughes went down. I know you had subbed him in, but I think the difference in the second half was just fatigue, and the Eagles just had the legs.
And just the last comment of video comes from Modal Soul, and he says, or she says, he?
Yeah, I know him. He's got a good channel. Go check him out.
There you go. What did you boys think of the Eagles' underdog narrative going into the game?
I kind of resented it a little bit in the sense that Fremantle fans were getting a little cocky.
Yeah.
And that's always what stirs the rivalry. It's like, hang on.
Yeah.
I definitely thought that, the danger of a Fremantle win was very, very realistic. I was quite nervous before the game, but I think people sometimes exaggerate narratives. So the Eagles getting pumped from Geelong, people just forgot the previous 5 weeks where we probably only looked bad in one game.
Yeah.
So it was really satisfying though.
Yeah, I never got my hopes up. I
No,
never
you
thought the Dockers... I probably should have though, because as you said, the loss is never any easier. That's going to wrap up this week's DrewFooty Show. If you've been liking this series, make sure you drop a like to support the algorithm. Drop a comment. Go follow DrewFooty on Instagram. DrewFooty_. That's it. Go check out DrewFooty's Just the Tips. It'll be out by now because we upload around the same time every Tuesday. Thank you very much, guys. See you in the next one.
Bye.